Hey everybody, Stu Smith here. Trying this again. Any luck? Let me know. I had some issues with audio before. There we go. Good. Hey, thank you for the feedback there. I couldn't tell. Wasn't sure what was wrong with the microphone. I'd use a different microphone. So anyway, all right. So where was I? I was talking about our workout we did. Killer workout we had this week. Pretty fun. Lots of them. Actually, we did 2-a-days just about every day this week. And all we did as the second workout was just some added cardio. So we did a run and or a swim. So whatever you need to work on the most, we focused on that. If you had to work on both, you did both of them. So depends on where you are on the spectrum of, are you more of a strength athlete? Or are you more of an endurance athlete? Where do you need to work on the most? So, and technique too. So that was the second workout. But the first workout was definitely getting into our 50-50 phase, I call it, half strength, half calisthenics. As we transition out of the summer, high repetition calisthenics, running, swimming workouts, we start adding in lifting exercises during the day for our workout. So we basically warm up with calisthenics and we lift heavier with just weights and a variety of different load bearing activities, whether it's sandbags or TRXs or weight vests. Probably this week we're going to start doing something we call Weight Vest Wednesday, where we will actually add in all the calisthenics that we normally do, just you have a weight vest to do it with. So once again, this is our transition as we move into the pure power hypertrophy phase of our winter training block. So anyway, that's my system. If you haven't seen that system, heard of that system before, I've been doing it for 20 years. I write about it. The books behind me are sections of that. Depending on like tactical fitness, it has a breakdown of all those phases in there. Complete Guide to Navy SEAL Fitness is more the calisthenic cardio phase. Navy SEAL weight training is more of the winter phase and the transitions. So got a whole bunch of tactical strength is the winter phase. So a whole bunch of different ones. And I just came out with a calisthenics and cardio workout, which was our summer program. Probably going to do the same thing for our winter lift cycle here. Just how we do it, how we manage to add strength, but maintain your cardio, without losing your gains, which I hate that term. If you don't want to lose your gains, you need to eat more food. It's pretty simple. Okay, so let's take some questions. That's what this is for. Sorry about the first round with the bad mic, but we got it taken care of. So, hey, is the SEAL ASVAB requirements difficult? And what happens if you don't meet the scores while you test at MEPS? If you don't qualify for them, you don't qualify. So I would take a lot of practice tests if you think that is an issue. Some people have an issue with that test. I personally did not. However, it's, you can look at what the SEAL ASVAB requirements are, on the SEAL SWIC webpage. I don't keep track of those things, so I would have to reference them just as you would, but I guarantee you will find correct information on the sealswic.com webpage that talks about ASVAB requirements. But I would highly recommend going on Amazon, buying yourself an ASVAB book, taking some practice tests, find some online. There are some online ones too. Take some practice tests, learn how to do it. It's like with any test, whether you're taking an SAT, an ACT, an ASVAB, or the PST for that matter, you need to practice it, right? So the PST is one of the ones I really get on people for never practicing it before they go to the mentor, which is one of the stupidest things I ever heard. If you ever go to your recruiter and you've never done a PST before, you're going to suck at the PST. And that is kind of what I consider a job interview for the first time you probably meet a SEAL that's trying to recruit you into their community. So, don't have a bad first impression by failing it over and over and over again. Go in there and crush that thing on day one. And then guess what? They're going to work with you to get you out of there whenever you need to be out of there, and, get you to boot camp, and, you can have some time to actually train to get through buds than just constantly taking PSTs every week or 2 weeks and, getting crap scores on those. Man, seen it happen way too much. I actually had a kid who's in the delayed entry program wanting to be a SEAL, has been failing PSTs, contact me the other day and asked me if after buds would he be a SEAL? Was there anything else after that? I said, that was one of those questions that kind of irritate me, because if you're doing anything in your life, I don't care if you want to be a doctor, you want to go to college, you want to do something, you might want to do some research on where you're going to be living, what you want to study, have an idea of the process that it takes to get to where you want to be. Don't just ask some stranger on the internet. Do some research. Man. But like I said, be able to crush a PST before you even talk to a recruiter, before you go to MEPS, right? And practice the ASVAB too. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but they're all tests that you need to practice. In a long story short, practice them. All right, so I'm having trouble running. Not a bad runner. 3 miles in 23. Not bad. Don't feel good when running. None of us do. Breathing 2-2 rhythm. Not bad. It's logical. Does it get easier? Yes. You just got to train smarter. Sounds like you're in the zone right now of just breaking 8 minutes. Your next goal is 7-minute mile. So you should be shooting for a 3 miles in 21 minutes. That means any quarter mile that you do should be at 1:45. Every half mile that you do should be at 3:30. And learn that pace. Learn that pace over and over and over again. I would recommend 10 sets of 400 meters at 1:45. Rest for 50% of that. So rest for, what is it? 50, 60 seconds, and then do it again. Do that 10 times. That's a good workout. And then if you're not tired yet, keep going. Go to 12. Nothing wrong with that. That's 3 miles right there in quarter miles. But yeah, if you take a look at an article I wrote called Goal Pace Running, and a great running program. I've written a couple articles that have kind of how I break it down. I break it down like this. I'll do a goal pace running day after all the PT and stuff, maybe even during the PT workouts. So I'm doing quarter miles, half miles at a goal pace. So I want my body to learn what that pace feels like over and over again, multiple times, 3, 4, 5 miles worth of it. Once you progress up to that level. Then on the next day, I tend to mix in some leg activity. So we'll throw in some intervals where you're actually running faster than goal pace, or you're sprinting up a hill, jogging down. Then afterwards you run with some fins, you do some bike pyramids, do something to work your legs and your lungs together on that day. And then the next day can be another goal pace type day. Maybe a little slower, maybe a little longer if you want to do that. But if you're pressed for time, it doesn't make a lot of sense to just run slow, because you're just going to get good at running slow. So focus on your goal pace every time you're running. And then on Thursday, maybe do non-impact cardio all together. So you've done 3 good running days in a row. Take a non-impact day: biking, swimming, elliptical, rowing. right? And then on Friday, let's see where you are after kind of a rest day on your legs. See how you open up your miles and see if you can do a mile and a half in 10:30, which is a 7-minute mile. So that's for you guys trying to get to 7 minutes. Now, if you guys getting to 6 minutes, you got to run your quarters at 90 seconds. You got to run your half miles at 3 minutes. So you see how this works. It's just goal pace. Figure it out. But you can't be at like a 12-minute mile and set your goal pace for a 6-minute mile. It doesn't work like that way. Try to drop it down a minute to 2 minutes max, with your workout. So if you're at a 12-minute mile and a half, that's an 8-minute mile. See if you can push a 7-minute mile, somewhere in that range of 7 to 7:30, right, on your goal pace stuff. And then that will get easier. Then you'll be able to drop it down a notch. But it takes time. Sorry, once again, I went long on that answer, but it takes time. Running's one of those things that takes time. Swimming takes time. Gaining weight takes time and strength. So for you guys that think you can prepare for buds in 6 months, you may have to do more. Right? If you're not already a high level athlete that has a strength background or a high endurance background, you may need more time than that. Right. So, okay, my question, 5'9", 163. Do you have a guide or advice on what good body weight should be? I don't want to be sluggish, but I also don't want to get crushed by the boats. Great question. You're in the zone where, you're a little light, but you're not too light. I would say anything under 150 is definitely very light. And that's very challenging if you're carrying 65, 70 pounds in a ruck, right? It's almost half your body weight. Boats and logs just are going to suck for you if you're that light. I would say somewhere, if you're going to be at the light range, be between 165 and 175. If you can do that, that's probably good. But for your height, being 5'9", you're probably pretty good at the 170 range, no more than that. I mean, any more than that, you probably will feel a little sluggish. But make sure you got some muscle mass on you, not just skin and bone at 163. But yeah, that's not too bad. The good news about that being that light is that you get good at calisthenics real fast, typically. You get good at running real fast. And if you have good technique in the swimming, you can get really good shape swimming pretty quick. The only problem is, you need to put on some mass, but not much. I wouldn't sweat it too much. You don't want to be skin and bones going out there freezing your ass off in the water either, so a little bit of bulk. For just to give you a reference, I was 6 feet, 195 going through buds. I am still 6 feet, and I just weighed myself at 199 yesterday, which I was very excited, getting back to my buds weight. I had played around with some heavy lift cycles and got up to 225 a few years ago and just felt like crap. So it's taken me a while to drop some muscle mass and bulk to get back to where I was in college. Let's see. I'm fresh out of college with a math background. How academically prepared are you for buds and demands education? You're fine. If you've gone through college with math, you're solid. Most people who did well in high school algebra will do well academically at buds, because all it is really algebra when you're doing some of the diving physics equations, and it's, if you guys can look this up, Charles' law and Boyle's law, and you'll see pressure and volume, right? When you take something down deeper, the volume gets smaller. So higher pressure, smaller volume. There's a little ratio to that goes, gets bigger with the deeper depth. So if you understand that and understand how to move variables from one side to the other, you can figure it out. It's algebra. Yeah. So if you're a college math background, I'm sure you can handle it. In fact, most of the kids that went through college were helping to tutor during dive phase. Whenever, after dinner, you would take a little study break between like 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock and study, at the compound, all the dive equations and everything like that. And the guys that had gone to college were usually part of that tutoring process for some of the high school guys that might have not had a good math background, but I wouldn't sweat it. Let's see, freshman in college and lift 5 to 6 times a week. Good. I run a little, but definitely not a great runner right now. Want to do one of your programs. Which one do you recommend? Well, it depends on which one you are. What do you want to do? If you just want to get big, just keep lifting. If you want to do triathlons, might want to add run, swim, and bike to it. If you want to go to Buds one day, you probably need to cycle and do some endurance type training and muscle stamina training, which is like what I just did this summer. There's no reason why you have to do it the way I do it. I personally lift more in the winter, run, PT, and swim more in the spring and summer. But yeah, it's kind of depends on what you want to do with that. Let's see. How can I get involved with your team workouts? I've been meaning to email you. I live in New Jersey. Yeah, you can drive down. It's not that far. A couple hour drive to Maryland. If you go to my website, stewsmith.com, click the free workouts in bright red capital letters at the top of the page, you will see my schedule of when we train, and they're free. And you will see also other trainers that do the same thing I do. Now, they're not all SEALs. Most of them are former military that are just helping out on a basic level. Kids prepare for whatever. I do have some that are pretty hardcore that are really good at teaching swimming, that are good at spec ops prep. But you just have to take a look at the chart and see what's near you. I think there's like 27 different cities right now that people are kind of donating their time to help people, which I thought is really nice. It's hard to find people that do that, to be honest with you. So we happen to do it about 500 hours a year. So we train, between 10 and 12 hours a week. Been doing a little more lately with the 2-a-day workouts, but is what it is. That's how we do it. Not everybody does it. Some people just do it on the weekends, depending on where you live. All right. Let's see. Couldn't find anything on your site. Do you have a recommended reading list aside from your books? Just depends. I happen to like anything Dick Couch writes. He writes a really good informational SEAL book. If you like those. I personally have been focused right now on this one, NSA's Essential Tactical Strength and Conditioning, just a textbook, just trying to learn a little bit more. There is a certification they have called the TSAC, Tactical Strength and Conditioning Coordinator or Facilitator. Yeah. So going to work towards that right now. So I've kind of been inundated with reading a textbook, which I enjoy. I don't mind. I got like 3 or 4 different textbooks here on physiology that I also read. This is one Jeff recommended the other day, The Oxygen Advantage. Really good. In fact, we just did a podcast on hypoxic training, talk a lot about this book because Patrick McEwen really gets deep into the weeds of what hypoxic training is. And nose breathing. It's good. What is the most difficult part of being a strength coach? I don't know. I guess finding a job, probably the most difficult part, because not everybody has a job that does this. Like I said, I do it for free. I just happen to write a lot, and I'm able to, have an income by selling books, ebooks, and online coaching. But I would say that'd probably be the tough one, is just finding a good paying job that allows you to be in a gym and run programs for people. And it also depends. I guess a lot of your strength coach jobs out there really depends on your audience that you're training. If you have a high motivated group of like spec ops guys, it's a lot of fun. If you have a bunch of professional athletes that are just a bunch of prima donnas, it might be a little bit more challenging, but fun challenging too, because that's the highest level of athletics that you can be at, whether it's Olympics or professional. So I think everything has its pros and cons. We will say that. Try to go there. Let's see. Been following your stuff for some time, getting ready to get serious with your training. Good. You know what? Here's something you should think about, is that it is almost just a little under 90 days now until New Year's Day. In fact, I think yesterday was 90 days until New Year's Day. So 89 days to New Year's Day now. So what do you want to do with this last quarter? Are you going to bust it, get after it? Or you're just going to get weaker. Don't do that. Don't wait until New Year's Day to start a program that might last you 2 weeks. The word New Year's resolution is no longer in our vocabulary after January. No one ever uses it anymore. You won't even hear people stop talking about it for about 2 weeks in January. Every year I'm asked to write an article about a New Year's resolution, and I just hate it. Yeah, because it's more than a New Year's resolution. It's a lifestyle change you got to be going on, right? Get into it. Use these 90 days and set a goal for yourself for New Year's Day. And then you can have an even better next 90 days, going into the spring, right? Start now. If you want a good beach body, you need to start now. You don't need to wait until January to do it. Especially as you get older, it's harder to lose weight. All right, let's see. My swims are weak and my runs are weak. But I'm a sprinter and powerlifting background. Yeah, remember that journey. I had the same thing. I had the same issue. I was a, powerlifting football player, as you've heard me say many times, and running anything over 100 yards was long distance. Running a mile and a half was excruciating. But you get better at it when you try it. So what I actually did was I made a decision, like, you know what, if I'm going to really go down this spec ops journey, I need to quit being a musclehead and get out of the weight room and start running, PT, and swimming. And that's what I did. I actually started training for triathlons to quickly turn myself into a endurance athlete. And the cool thing about it is when I went back on to like a 6-week lift cycle, I was back at my old maxes again within 6 weeks. All right. So I never really lost a lot of strength. So don't worry about if you're losing a lot of strength during a high cardio, high rep calisthenics cycle. You're going to lose some, but you can get right back on it. Take a quick 6-week strength cycle and you're back on it again. Then you'll be able to come back into that running cycle even a little bit stronger. Hills are easier. Swimming with fins are easier. All those things. So you can take some of that strength and actually apply it to your endurance in several instances, especially load bearing. You guys that are powerlifting guys now, load bearing, logs, boats, they don't crush you. You're actually, I remember having not worked out in a weight room for a couple of years before I went to Buds, about 18 months before I went to Buds. All I did was run, swim, and PT. Remember getting under log PT and I was like, got the same pump as if I was in the weight room. Now, don't get me wrong, log PT still sucked. I never enjoyed it, but I felt afterwards kind of like I did after doing old powerlifting workout versus being crushed and everything hurt. So just something to think about. There's some pros and cons to all this. 4 mile times run sucked. So, but you got them done because I made that weakness less of a weakness. Thought of midfoot striking during runs versus heel striking. Yeah, you know what? That's a really good question. I've written an article on that called The Evolution of Running. And a lot of that is just my evolution of learning how to run. I was taught a long time ago with a heel roll, right? So it wasn't like a hard heel strike where people are like hitting hard on the heel, but it was a heel kind of a roll. I tend to do more of a midfoot strike now. But if you take a look at it in slow motion, take a look at some of the world-class runners in slow motion, and you'll see just briefly they hit their heel, but by the time they put all their body weight on their foot, it's a flat foot. So it's not necessarily a heel strike. A heel strike is a hard hit. Like if you're running downhill, chances are you're heel striking because it's hard to hit a midfoot going down a steep hill. You're going to hit the heel first. That's a heel strike. But yeah, you should, if you are heel striking, you should shorten your stride a little bit, and then you're going to be able to run a little better with distance without a lot of knee pain and shin splints. All those things come in from hard striking. I don't care if you're hard striking on your toes or you're hard striking midfoot. A hard strike will lead to injury. So I do something called the audible test. If I can hear my feet hitting the ground, then I'm not running right. So if you actually hear your feet going, consider softer planting of your foot, right? And it's actually kind of a roll versus a smack, right? That will help you a lot. Going to selection in another NATO country. Good luck. Good luck. Going international here. I should have that 18 miler. Ooh, yeah. And have some 650, 850 meters in elevation gain. Yeah, that's pretty tough, man. That sounds like a lot like our Army Special Forces. They do a lot of long running, long rucking too. And they have some elevation, definitely. So, yeah, get used to rucking. I did have a running program. I still have it out there, special ops running program. And it progresses you from, I think, like 15 miles a week to about 30, 35 miles a week in running and rucking. It works really well. But it's not a beginner course. You know, it's not something that, you know, if you haven't run in months, you start your first week at 15, 18 miles a week. You don't want to do that. So this is something that you build up to and then you progress. And it takes you like 26 weeks just to get, up to that distance, because every week is a legitimate about 10 to 15% increase in mileage progression. So there you go. That's how you want to progress. Let's see. Yeah, check out that one. That'd be a good one. Looking forward to meeting you. Oh, thanks. We're here, Maryland. Come check it out. Let me see what else. Jocko said people neglecting preparing for deployments, how an IED blast or worse is a constant threat. Knowing this normal, given the nature, how do you prepare and deal with this? I have no idea what you're asking. I don't deploy. So, I mean, I prepare for everything I do, but I'm not active duty. So I'm not sure what you're asking for me. If you're asking for me or you're asking for yourself, you just got to be alert and not complacent. Complacency will kill. Every day you're out there, you got to be paying attention. But you also need to be prepared physically for the types of missions you're going to be doing. Your platoon will do that for you. Okay. I was in a similar situation, 230 in powerlifting. I worked up to 60 miles a week. Damn. Woo. That's a lot. Running feels great now. I don't think you'll lose much muscle. Damn, man. That's pretty impressive. 60 miles a week. That's a lot. Good progression, though. 8 months. That's logical. Do you recommend using your SEAL weight training book as a solid weight program post 12 weeks to budge? Yes. That's why I wrote it. It's actually, like I said, I have a cycle of workouts that look like this. If you take the year and you take what you're trying to do, you're trying to get good at everything, right? You're trying to get good at strength and power, speed and agility, flexibility, mobility, cardiovascular endurance, running and swimming, and muscle stamina and grip. So to do that, it's very difficult or almost impossible to get good at all of those at once with a single style workout program. So you need to break it up into elements that work well together. What works well together is strength and power, speed and agility. Those four work very well together. Think about your powerlifting football players. That's what they're doing all the time. There's hundreds of programs for that out there, right? That's what my program is, but I top it off with swimming and running differently though, to make it more of a tactical. So you maintain your cardiovascular endurance while you're trying to get strong, not crazy amount of level, just maintain it. We tend to warm up with the calisthenics, so we're not losing our muscle stamina when we're doing the power phase. And then the opposite holds true whenever we are in the summer. Just because it's high rep calisthenics and running cycle and swimming, we do make those exercises harder with sandbags, logs, TRXs, weight vests, those type of things, just to make it a little less just body weight. So you do actually work on some higher level muscle stamina with strength involved too. So, all right. So let's see. Currently have a 88-pound ORM on bench. Okay. Not sure where to go from here. Currently looking at either volumized version of 531 or just hypertrophy. Kind of depends on your current weight too. I personally like this. Like if you're not very strong, get strong at calisthenics first. Build up some volume of calisthenics, then take it into the weight room, and then start doing a hypertrophy style cycle first. Then, if that's going well for you, you want to stay in the weight room, add a strength cycle to it. Right. If you don't want to do that, you can go back into running and calisthenics again and then hit a strength cycle the second time around. That's what I would do. But you'll also see that you can have a hypertrophy training workout with calisthenics. I can't tell you how many guys I've seen that have only done calisthenics and got huge. Well, ripped, big muscles, obviously looked like they were lifting weights, but they were only doing calisthenics. So depending on where you are, if you're a beginner, I always start my beginners off with calisthenics and a basic PT pyramid: pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, dips on the days in between, squats and lunges, some hill running, maybe swimming with fins. And that's how I start beginners off. And we just work our way up. And then after a cycle of that, we will do, some weighted activities, add some dumbbells in there, build up to barbells. Like I have a son who's 16, and he's been working out with me since he's been 13. And for the first 2 years, he did nothing but calisthenics, PT pyramids. That was it. Now we're getting into lifting, and he's getting really strong. So it takes time, right? There's no one workout or a week or even a book that's going to really answer all your questions for the rest of your life. This is a journey. It's not a destination, right? Fitness is a lifelong journey, right? And you're going to find things that you like to do. You're going to find things that you don't like to do, but you have to get good at them, especially if it's in the tactical world, and you have to get good at these things. Otherwise, you won't make it through certain selections, or you may not even make it into the military or law enforcement, firefighter, if you don't become a better, well-rounded tactical athlete. Let's see. You mentioned in one of your podcasts that tough football workouts. Yes. Gain mental conditioning that got you 2 buds you could look back on. Could you expand upon that? No, I mean, just anything of tough sport workouts, whether it was wrestling practice or football practice. Because here's the deal. Anytime that you wake up early to go train, you are getting mentally tougher that day, because it is real easy to just hit snooze and stay comfortable in your bed, right? Any day you finish school and you're exhausted, mentally fried, but you have to go put on wet, stinky, sweaty pads and go practice, you just got mentally tougher to go do that, right? That is how you do it. And then you go endure like a butt kicking workout that lasts for 2 hours. I mean, that's what does it. I mean, that's a foundation of building work capacity and just mental resilience to say, you know what, I made it through, 2-a-days when I was 16 years old. That's a good stepping stone to what's next. That's why I'm big fan of tough sports and tough workouts, because you have to start learning how to do these things even when you don't feel like it, because there's no rest days. Well, I mean, I guess you get weekends at Buds, but those are usually licking your wounds and taking care of your aches and pains so you can start again on Monday. Let's see. A lot of questions, guys. Good job. Thank you. If for some reason I do not answer your question specifically, just put it in the description of this video, because I can't talk much longer. I got about 5 more minutes. So let's see. Another question. I'm struggling with week 4 of 12 weeks to Buds. In particular, the Run Swim Run workout. Yes, the classic Run Swim Run workout. Love that one. 3-mile run, 1 mile with fins, 3-mile run in 1 hour and 15. I don't know if I have time set for that. If I can't meet specified times, no, just that's okay. Do what you can. Sometimes transitions are a little tough. My goal there, I personally like to try to do that 3 miles in 20 to 22 minutes. Swim a mile, that's 30 laps in our pool. So try to do that in 30 minutes, and then another 20, 25 minutes. It's a hard standard. It's an advanced standard, but if you don't get it, just get it done. Just get as much of it done as you can. Yeah, that's a good one. Hour 15 is legit. Even if hour and 20, I'll give you an hour and 20. If you can do that in that. I've seen some guys do it in an hour. They do a 20-minute 3-mile run, about a 20-minute mile swim. Yeah, 20-minute mile. They were hauling ass. And then remember, this is with fins. And then a 20-minute 3-mile run again. So you can stop your watch during the transitions too if you need to. How's that? Give you a little extra time in between sets. Let's see. My son is heading to the Marine Corps in a month. How can he get his stamina up fastest? I don't know. I would say run and do pull-ups, because those are going to be the 2 most challenging things that you're going to be seeing at Marine Corps boot camp. You'll also be rucking. So if he has not done that yet, I would recommend him getting on a running program and rucking program. But, when you say you only have a month, if he hasn't done any of that, that's going to be a long road, right? So I would say right now, don't burn yourself out in the last month. This should be kind of the taper phase before you go into basic like that. Because Marine basic is legit. I mean, it's not Navy training. Navy training gets you out of shape. Marines will kick your butt. So, if you could design a PST for police officers, great question. What would it consist of? Let me see here. What would it consist of? And what do you think police officers should be tested against in terms of physicality and fitness? Great question. Man, that's a tough one. I may have to write an article on that one because that's awesome. I would say this. I mean, take a look at the job that they do. And a lot of this may depend on whether they are a city police officer, county police officer, rural country police officer. All of those, I would think, should have different type standards, should have different things that they will be tested in. Regardless, they should be tested in combatives. There should be like a person in between him and a wall. Do you have to get through this one person to get over a wall, climb a fence? I'm talking obstacle course standards right now, with a little bit of combatives thrown in there. But yeah, and at the end have a little dry fire shooting section for that. I think that's kind of as tactical as probably you can get for someone who is going to be a police officer. If these are active duty police officers, that would be a different story. You could probably get a little more elaborate with what you can do with them. But I think we all need some form of strength, whatever type of strength that is. You can test it multiple ways. You could test deadlift, you could test bench press, you could test weighted pull-ups. I like all three personally. In fact, in the book called Tactical Strength, I came up with my own strength workout test. And I called it, where's my test? All right. So, basically, it looks like this. You have a weighted pull-up of 20 pounds, max reps. You have a bench press of body weight, max reps. You have deadlift of 1.5 times your body weight. I don't necessarily have a max rep on that. I don't like to max rep deadlifts, but it's kind of a pass fail. 1.5 to 2 times your body weight. Can you do that 1 to 5 times, right? And 5 times you get more points. Squats. I like squats in there too. 1.5 to 2 times your body weight. Strongman pull-up hang. Just hanging from a pull-up bar. How long can you just sit there and hang from a pull-up bar? Love that one. 300-yard shuttle run. So you can do this one a couple of different ways. You can do it 6 by 50s, or you can do 12 by 25. Both of those are equally challenging. A 5-10-5 pro agility test, where you just sprint 5 yards, sprint 5 yards, sprint 5 yards, back to the middle, zigzag back and forth. Now I also have a 50-pound ruck thrown in there for 4 miles. How quickly can you do that? Kettlebell swing for 5 minutes. It's a test. How many reps can you get in 5 minutes of a kettlebell swing? And then a 500-meter swim with fins. Now, that is tactical strength, not necessarily for police officers, but that is my tactical strength test. Also came up one for tactical fitness called the Dirty Dozen. You guys familiar with the Dirty Dozen? Because this one's awesome. So it's 12 different exercises. You'll see some of these that are very similar. The Dirty Dozen looks like this. It's got a 3-mile run. You got a 500-yard swim. You have a 50-pound ruck for 4 miles. You have a bodyweight bench press, deadlift, same as last time. You have a fireman carry, 100 yards. Got to be able to carry somebody of your same body weight, 100 yards. Got a plank pose between 1 and 5 minutes. 5 minutes the most points. You have a 400-meter sprint. You have a 300-yard shuttle run. You have an Illinois agility test. That's a police officer test. And you have a life-saving buddy tow as well. You have to save your buddy. Oh, swim 500 yards and then save your buddy for 25. So if he's on one end of the pool, you have to drag him to the other end of the pool, 25 yards. That's my tactical fitness dirty dozen test. So out of those, I would say there's probably about 15 different test elements that I like. And if you think about what we just did, we just tested strength and power, speed and agility, muscle stamina, cardiovascular endurance, even some grip thrown in there. And the one thing I don't have a test for is flexibility, mobility, but I mean, we do it every day. So it's kind of one of those things I just want to make sure that people are not neglecting, because that's something that's very important. So that's fun. Yeah, great question. I would have to think about it, and it kind of depends on the group. Like this morning, I just worked with the local SWAT team here, and we did a team building drill. Something I was telling you in the previous video before I realized my sound wasn't working. We did this. We had an endurance course, which is about a 3-mile trail run with a bunch of obstacles, where we did load bearing. They had a stretcher of about 150 pounds they had to carry through this 3-mile course. Then they had to do log PT, and then they had to do an obstacle course as a team. So it was all team building day. So I personally like a lot of that stuff for officers and SWAT team guys going through any type of selection process. But you definitely need some form of subjective grading test. And to be honest with you, some of the most basic fitness tests out there, like push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and a 1.5-mile run, actually are good indicators of how they will do in that training. Now, it doesn't say anything about their tactical abilities, which I get, but it's, you can be pretty basic and at least have a strong police officer going through that type of training, and still have the ability to make it through the training with that subjective, grading criteria test. So anyway, that's a good question. Let's see. Let's do one more. Then I got to go. So let's see. Let me see a good one here. Let's see. Oh, let's see this. What's this? Recently, Jeff in a video said he would never program more than 7 miles a week for Bud's program. Do you agree with this? What running volume do you see adequate weekly? I'm a little more on the higher volume side. I mean, like I said, I have a way to train, not the way to train. I mean, if you're going to run 7 miles, you better be running 7 miles really fast and be able to nail a 4-mile timed run easy. But some people need more mileage just because they suck at running, right? Like, it depends. Like for me, being a powerlifting football guy coming from a strength background, I needed more running. I needed more swimming. And I spent a lot more time doing that than I did lifting or anything else. So 7 miles wasn't enough for me, but might be enough for someone who's really good at running. I don't know. How do you properly train for a 4-mile timed run with only 7 miles a week? I don't know. I don't know that answer. So you guys have to ask Jeff that one. If you're coming from a cross-country background, you could probably get away with that because you're probably going to need to be lifting weights and getting stronger anyway. So, all right. So, all right. I am, I'm going to have to call it quits. I went on this for almost 50 minutes. So, Jeff is changing his programming on his website and starting fresh, everything over. But he and I just did a a podcast just this week, and we tried to get a second one done today, but our time schedules didn't match up, so I just came here live and did it anyway. So yeah, if you want Jeff, he's on his website, performancefirst.us. Good friend of mine, great guy, great trainer. He has a way to train, I have a way to train, but believe it or not, in the end, they do the same thing, right? I just happen to probably run a little more than he does. He probably lifts a little more than I do. So, all right, all done. Have a good one. Thanks for the questions.